Before you have the agenda, and I understand you probably had a chance to take a look at this already. The agenda is here today, which leads us to the Building Codes Divisions. Mark Heiser and Kelly Thomas will lead off the discussion. We're going to go through numerous topics. And Mark, if you're ready, go ahead and take it away. Mark, can you see the slide? Can you see the slide okay? Okay.
Now I can see the slide. Oh, thank you. Mark Heiser, Building Codes Division, State of Oregon, here to cover some of the updates. First off on House Bill 3409 and some of the pieces involved with that. And I didn't know I was going to be doing 111, but I'll like to go over some of the items in the bill that would be of interest to this group. I'm going to start really with Section 6. What the bill did was incorporate what is Executive Order 2004 into a statute so that we're looking to hit by the codes in 2030 in the state to be at a 60% improvement of energy efficiency over, or a 60% reduction from the codes that were in force in 2006, which would have been the 2004 residential, the 2005 commercial, or vice versa. I'm trying to remember that. We'll go in over some of the updates on code and where we're standing right now, but things are looking really good. Kelly will cover residential and I'll cover commercial. One of the other items that we wanted to cover, and I'm going to bring up a little piece here, is about ventilations, and just want to give the language on that and why it's of interest. Is that one piece that was added that's sort of not normal efficiency is part 7.2 sub A, sub B, about, quote, investigating the potential benefits and the feasibility of updating building ventilation standards and of specifying standards for air cleaners present in building mechanical systems and in occupied indoor spaces. This is going to be a bit of work for us. Oregon does always adopt the latest national ventilation standards, so we will be looking to our mechanical board and having discussions with them on what feasibility there is for any different or additional standards in our building codes or modifications specifically for Oregon. There are a lot of areas of concern, whether it's indoor quality, the smoke issues we've been having, and I think some of you are seeing a bit of smoke today. Also on, standards for air cleaners, some may be present in the permanent building equipment, and a lot of, and how that gets integrated into the mechanical codes would be looked at. But a lot of equipment is also that's used in occupied indoor spaces is portable, so which is sort of outside the code, but it in some cases winds up being the more effective for certain temporary conditions like we're seeing right now with smoke. So that's on part 7. Let me bring up. Part 111 is about directing the director of the Department of Consumer and Business Services. Let's see here. We'll continue to work to adopt updated building codes. Next item I wanted to cover was also on Section 7, and that has to do with really embodied carbon in building materials, and wanted to get to the exact language on that one, where it directed the Department of Consumer Building Services by December 31st, 2024 to report to an interim committee of the Legislative Assembly related to findings and recommendations on options for and the feasibility of reducing greenhouse gas emissions that result from materials used in building construction. And of course, the division is supposed to base our findings after consultation with the Department of Environmental Quality. One thing I wanted to note on that is we're beginning for that report due at the end of next year. We're already working on beginning our discussions with DEQ and how we will be looking into this, sort of the baselines, how to look at measuring and what could be done within the building codes. As part of this piece of legislation, the division has some new positions, and one of them will be helping out with developing these reports, sort of beyond the specialization we have on staff right now. But really say to people who are online today or know people who might be interested, be on the lookout for the posting for the new position. It's still being written up, for state government, it can take a little while to get everything done correctly, but just wanted to let people know about the a position with Building Codes Division. Really good crew you'd be working with there. So I guess next slide, I think, goes back to the folks at Department of Energy. So I'll turn it back over to you, Roger.
All right, thanks, Mark. Blake, is this section that you intended to speak to?
Yeah, I'll cover this slide. So I'm Blake Shalide, engineer with the Oregon Department of Energy. If there's anyone on the call that I haven't worked with yet. So you guys may know that, but House Bill 3409 was kind of a mix of a lot of different bills that were originally proposed kind of at the start of session, and then at the end, when the timing got pretty quick to kind of make it more efficient, they compiled a bunch of bills into 3409. And a lot of the bills have an effect on our agency. So I'll just talk about a couple of them here, although there's certainly quite a bit more. The first few sections were from what was originally Senate Bill 868, and that was included with this big package of bills in 3409. Sections 1 through 5 talk about heat pumps, really, in education and training. It sets a goal of 500,000 new heat pumps for Oregon by 2030. That's kind of the biggest piece, I think, in those sections, and just kind of directs our agency to help coordinate with that activity and report on that goal. It's not a goal specifically for our agency to meet, but we're responsible for, we're just reporting on progress towards that goal. In sections 8 through 17, that came from Senate Bill 870, and that covers the building performance standards, or energy performance standards, as it's called in the bill. For folks that are familiar with a BPS program, building performance standards program, this one is similar to what kind of occurred in Washington recently. So a couple of years ago, Washington, as part of their clean buildings standard, put in place a BPS, and that was what was pretty much used to form the basis for Oregon's legislation, although there was some specific kind of Oregon-specific changes that were included. But generally, what it does is it targets existing large commercial buildings and sets energy performance standards based on site energy use (EUI) for these buildings to achieve over time, and kind of phasing in the largest buildings first. So you can see the general schedule for when buildings are set to meet that legislation, or set to meet that target in the legislation. Greater than 200,000 square foot buildings by 2028, June of 2028, greater than 90,000 square foot buildings by June of 29, and then 35,000 square foot and above by June of 2030. And this applies to what are known as in the bill the Tier 1 buildings, and those are mostly large commercial buildings, non-residential buildings, and then the bill also defines Tier 2 buildings. And I think some of this was, based on the experience of other states, where it excludes some building types, some sectors from meeting the building performance standard in Tier 1. And those sectors are multifamily, hospitals, schools, dorms, and university buildings. And those buildings are placed into Tier 2, which will then have a building energy benchmarking requirement to be phased in later on. And then it also directs our agency in future years to look at a potential building performance standard for those Tier 2 buildings. So we'll be conducting rulemaking to implement this program over the next year and a half. The rulemaking will be complete by the end of 2024. So we'll certainly have a lot of opportunities for stakeholder engagement and rulemaking development as that process goes along. And we'll actually be hiring quite a few new staff at the agency to help implement this program, because it will be a brand new program for our agency to put together, and we'll have the staff to support that. And then I guess the last area that I'll talk about is just in section 71 through 78, heat relief updates. So, and during a previous session, the legislature gave our agency some funding to provide incentive programs for heat pump installation. There's two programs, a community heat pump installation program, and then a rental home heat pump installation program, incentive program. And what this update in 3409 did was kind of extend that program by a little bit, and just provide some general updates to it. And then I'll also mention, not as part of 3409, but a different bill, there was kind of this one-stop shop concept that was directed to our agency for heat pumps, just given all the different incentives and programs that are coming down the line from the federal government, at the state level, other places, to have our agency kind of serve as the one-stop shop to help consumers in the industry navigate these heat pump incentive programs. So, and general efficiency incentives that are coming down the line, and to kind of give us a little bit of a head start on some of the federal money before it's directly available from the federal government, give us the ability to kind of get going on some of that work. So, and if anyone's curious, our legislative coordinator, government relations coordinator, Christy Splitt, did a fantastic job putting together a legislative session report that outlines all of the bills that kind of impact our agency over the that occurred over the session. So it provides a really good snapshot of all the different legislation that came through that we were tracking. And there's a link to that on this slide. And that covers that section for me. I don't know if there's any questions or anything that anyone else wanted to chat about. Yeah.
Thanks, Blake. Thanks, Mark. Anybody have any questions for Mark or Blake? You guys must have done a dazzling job because there's no questions coming in. Yeah. That usually gets people to start asking questions. All right, so I guess we can move along. Next slide is Kelly Thomas, who will be discussing the residential code. Kelly, you ready?
Ready to go. So just last month, that rule there was passed, and so the 2023 ORSC is going to be effective October 1st of this year. We attached a 6-month phase-in period for it. So April 1st, which is a Monday, it'll be it'll be permanent. So you can get permits in up until the Friday before that, and the chapter 1 is automatically effective, but the chapter 11 and the ones that you're probably keen in on do have the phase-in period. So the phase-in period means that both either the 2021 or 2023 ORC are acceptable for the energy and mechanical provision. We've got a couple technical bulletins. Just started working on one yesterday to go with everything. It's for air sealing. Recognize the importance of that and furthering that. So we're putting out a big technical bulletin with some drawings and things like that should help people implement some good air sealing and air barrier construction methods. Also be updating the bulletin for the air ducts inside. We've got a couple different provisions that were done in the 2023, so we're going to do that. And then, really what we do a lot is just kind of field the questions between over the course of the code and see what comes up. So, if there's anything that you guys feel a technical bulletin might be helpful, let us know and we'll take that into consideration. We've got the University of Oregon, as many of you know, they're kind of our third party that does the analysis of the code. They've done ZERH 2005, 2021, 2017, and now 2023. That report is going to be produced, finalized this month. And they're showing that we are, equal to or better than the ZERH. So we have achieved the goal of Executive Order 1720. The nice thing about that is it gives us a really nice slope, what some people call the glide path to meeting the other executive order that we talked about, 2004, and the 60% reduction. So that puts us on a great slope. I mean, there's still plenty of work to do, and we'll be talking to a lot of you over the course of the next couple of years for the 2026 and 2029 codes. And then the RMSB, the next one is October 4th of this year. And there is, obviously we don't have an agenda set, but Mark's going to talk about it a little bit. There might be some reach code action, a couple other things, but right now, just keep an eye out for that the next agenda on the RMSB. Is there any questions on the residential code at this point?
We have one in the chat, Kelly. It's from Alex.
Oh, Alex? Yep.
Yeah. Will the U of O report be made available?
Yeah, it'll be a public document when it's produced, so you can ask. I don't think we've ever really posted them online, but you can certainly inquire and we'll make it available.
And Daryl.
I tried on the previous slide tapping on the legislative report, and it didn't pick anything up. It might be just because I'm on my iPhone and I can get it off the recording, but would it be possible to put that link in the chat?
Sure, we can do that.
Sure thing. Yep, I'll add it right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And thanks, Blake. All right, I don't see any other questions for residential. Let's move along to commercial.
Hey, Roger. Once again, Mark Heiser with the division. Want to talk about the next version of the Oregon Energy Efficiency Specialty Code, which will be based on ASHRAE Standard 90.1 2022. The process was kicked off at the last Construction Industry Energy Board meeting on June 13th. One thing that we do, of course, is look at it's maintaining the timeline that we had said to get once 90.1, a new edition is published, have the new one ready to go within 1 year of the publication date, have the process, deep into it by the Construction Industry Energy Board for their review. We expect to have a draft of the OEESC document, which is really the integration of what is Chapter 13 of the building code with 90.1 to make sure the administrative provisions are fixed, bringing in previous modifications, just making sure that it works here in Oregon within our building code. As we've noted in the past, really, if you are interested, should be reading 90.1 2022 if there's specific areas of interest to you, something that might be beneficial or important for state of Oregon that can bring to the attention of the division and the C board. We expect a anticipated public hearing date of November 14th, and then we're hoping for an adoption date of January 1st, 2024, if all goes well. So again, 90.1 2022 has been available for a while now for reading. We want to make sure that we've got this thing, actually since really the first of the year. They did a lot in it. There are a few new things, which is a whole chapter on really what we call additional measures here in Oregon, or a point system that's seen in the IECC and in Washington. So with different requirements for different building types, it's a really big jump forward. So we look forward to input from everyone, and that is it for the commercial code side.
Darn, Mark, I was hoping to offer input without reading ASHRAE 90.1, but yeah, I guess I gotta follow the rules here. Anybody have any questions for Mark on the commercial side? You're probably reading the ASHRAE 90.1, I'm sure. All right, Jim, how about you?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
All right, Jim, how can I help you?
So how about any of the appendices? There's going to be a zero-based appendix that's on a rush schedule. Is the state of Oregon going to do it? And this is tied to the IRA funding. Is the state of Oregon planning to do anything with compliance along those lines, as opposed to the zero framework you currently have in the code?
We would be, and oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the number of the appendix that we're talking about here.
It's L, or it's either I or L, I can't remember. It's being, yeah.
Oh,
they
it's
have-
the new one, yeah.
Yeah, the
So,
new one, yeah.
yeah, so we base our adoption strictly on what's adopted at time of publication, not continuing. So it's 90.1 2022 as published, not additional addenda, which will be in 90.1 2025. So correct, we wouldn't be considering something that's not published as part of the book for 90.1 2022. So that would be in 2025. And when we look at adopting that after that's published, that would be probably the 26, 27 Oregon code.
Okay, so it won't be an alternative compliance path. You don't intend that.
It would possibly be something we'd look at, if people are looking at for a REACH code proposal. So, but not as within mandatory code, and we have to base it on what's published at time of the original document.
All right, thanks.
Okay, hey, Gary, how about asking a question?
Oh, I was just gonna make a comment related to Jim's. I think the way it's headed, that zero emissions addendum, is that it'll be informational and meant to be a potential jurisdictional option. I think kind of that's the way they're headed. It's not meant, I don't think, to be a normative thing, but more of an informative thing. I was just on a meeting on that today. So just a comment. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Kevin, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, this is Kevin Rose with Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance. Similar question, somewhat, but this is about amendments that have been approved, or I should say approved addenda, to use the correct terminology, to the 2022 standard that have already been approved. The most notable of that is one that I know of, at least, is one on fan power. So these are things that were intended to go into 2022, but didn't get there until the last moment, but have already been approved and are already out the door and through public comment and all that, as I understand it. Is there interest on the behalf of anybody on the call here to fold in those things that are, right off the shelf and ready to go, and pick them off while they're available, given our timing in this process?
Kevin, was that a question to the division or to others on the call, I guess?
I'm certainly interested in the division's thoughts on it, but given we're a panel of stakeholders here, I guess since the fan power limitation one might not be the only addenda, I'm also, I guess, curious about folks' conceptual interest in this approach.
So from the division standpoint, if it's something that normally, if it makes it easier for use, we'd definitely be, or fixes a problem that had been in the code, definitely we would be considering that. Already know of hopefully this can be an errata and not have require an addendum that I found in the code that will be discussed at the next meeting for the 90.1 committee. If it might tie to federal rulemaking, probably not, because that requires, up until actually publication in the standard, and after some federal work. So I'm trying to remember this addendum off the top of my head. I'm sorry if I just don't remember exactly which one it was. So, but if it's something that, it's something we can consider and can look at, but most of the time, the intent is to go to this one, which will have, have gone through all of the cost process and analysis. So, yeah. May or may not. It would be it could be considered if someone brings it forward and we can look at it, but most likely we're trying to make this, get the latest book, wait until everything's gone through, and, there's always additional addenda that might change a new addendum that can happen. So we like to make it, from publication to publication, but if it's something really big and isn't getting into the preemption world or, federal rulemaking, something that could be looked at.
Understood. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just,
All
I guess
right.
a quick, I know BCD, I know you is really interested in getting that input on 9.1 2022 between now and, when the CEIV starts to look at it. I guess Mark and Kelly is the best place to provide that input, after folks have had a chance to kind of check it out and pour over it and see what's changed in it versus the last one, and any potential organ specific amendments. Is the best opportunity, would that be at the next CEIV meeting or in a different forum?
Well, before, just, we've
Yeah.
always said that we're available for a call, a comment, answer questions. That's why we're here at these meetings, is to try and get that discussion out and going. And again, we really try hard to make sure that we get back a response to you within 24 hours if we're not available, pending vacations, things like that. But it's really just bringing items to staff attention. And then there would be the draft, always discussion at Construction Industry Energy Board and other methods. So commentary to the board.
It looks like Jim had a question related to that about a formal method to submit amendments. I guess I think he's referring to organ specific amendments to 90.1 2022. And it sounds like there's not a formal method. It's just communicate with BCD and this group or other groups.
And also always public comment at the boards and can ask to testify and bring something to them. Yes.
Thanks.
All right. Sounds like we're pretty, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so if I to formally get something heard by the board, I should address formal amendments proposals to the board itself.
Correct.
Okay, and to the chair of the board, is that the proper way to do it?
Normal process is, submitting items to the division through the, I'm trying to remember who's the board person for this one, whether it's Debbie. But there are links on our site to submit to ask to testify. And if you're looking to bring new business in front of them, you bring that to them and they'll ask questions. They'll give you time for testimony. So there's pre-testimony or a specific issue testimony. You can ask to bring something to the board for their attention.
Okay, so I'm proposing,
same as it's been.
okay, so I'm proposing new business for the board to the board chair and administrator. That would be the process.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, Jim, you good?
Yeah, I think I understand it. I'll look for the correct method. Thanks.
Perfect. All right, I guess we move along. We're going to talk about reach code. It's Mark again, right?
It won't be me for the Residential and Manufactured Structures Board. At the next meeting, October 4th, we're really looking to begin or ask the board to begin the process then, now that we have a brand new and soon to be effective 2024 Oregon Residential Specialty Code, Chapter 11. As a little background, we were in the midst of some years ago, trying to update our rulemaking for how, clarify how how a reach code is developed. What we're looking to establish is that currently the reach code is just adopted by the division, and to formally make it that it's adopted by a rule is our intent. That is probably, the rulemaking is going to last a little bit longer and have its own rulemaking advisory committee, and well, there'll be a rulemaking hearing on that, but we're looking to use that process for the next residential reach code adoption, and looking at having that so that it does go through a board approval and rulemaking process. So that's what we're looking to have for the next residential reach code, the update to the 2021 residential reach code for adoption, hopefully as soon as possible. Of course, we're going to be going through the board and asking them for their input on this. And this is where we're going to look to open up and have had outreach at this meeting, and have had outreach to some of you who have been have had input on previous reach codes, reminding you that it's coming up every time we have a new required statewide mandatory residential energy code. We want to have a reach code ready for that. So we've been trying to prime the pump on ideas for that. Again, once we're definitely looking to align with incentives, with what Energy Trust does. They're also the Energy Star and Federal Energy Star on zero energy ready home paths that are out there that have some pretty significant incentives there, and seeing how we can align all this with those programs, having the reach codes taken to account those things as part of the statute for us, and or just how to expand or redo the 2021 residential reach code, say, or measures, whatever, expanding the measures, other methods for doing that, based on looking at trying to get now that we've got the latest reports from the University of Oregon, and looking at where we're really winding up in our glide path to our 2029 code, seeing about how much we need to get in this next code cycle to try and make the reach code look like, or hit that sort of target, so we can get people used to building to, or the ideas of, through incentive programs, building to that next code compliance path that we'll be seeing probably in 2026. So, and that's why we'd like to see whether we can, if there's any feedback from people today. We've sent out requests. We know some people are looking at things and just want to know that once the process starts, there will be some rulemaking. There will be review by the board, and then a final and a rulemaking advisory committee for this. So again, we're working through the language on the rule, but we're hoping to make this something that we can have as a repeat process in the future, and have it a little more formalized than under the current rules we have. Any questions?
All right, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, as a member of the Zero Coalition, I know we talked a little bit about being involved, and so we're really looking forward to it because of the opportunity, how the REACH could feed into the 26 and then ultimately the 29 code, to reach our goal. So if there's updated rulemaking process, we're really interested in learning what that entails and how to participate, and would look forward to engage actively. So thanks for reaching out.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so again, we currently have brought in a new ERI path. That's one methodology of how that can be expanded. Trying to look at ZRH. There are potential ways of looking at, and we've done a bit of study looking at and are going to do more research on, cost effectiveness of looking at getting to the targets in the future. And I believe working with Department of Energy, we know a lot of previous NEA study, we know most of the pieces that would be in the code moving in that direction. Of course, there are a few things that are changing on, federal rulemaking is changing a little bit for higher efficiency furnaces and seeing how that fits into the code. And also rulemaking on water heaters that's changing and when that will be available. So we can look at things that are coming in through other programs that are helping us improve the efficiency of the code, but also watching out to make sure that we do align with changes that are happening through other entities. So again, yes, our request in these meetings has been, if there are ideas, things that you're looking to do, be working on them, because we're looking at putting together something to bring as a starting point to the racks. So anything you would like to discuss with us, through ideas as we've requested of several of you, please look. We're looking forward to feedback and to hearing ideas that might be not in the normal. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mark.
Just a quick add to my, one of the things that got batted around was the, we didn't see any proposals last time was home size. So, just keep your thoughts maybe on, maybe that's a good solution for the REACH code as we forward, but just wanted to mention that.
Thanks, Kelly. David, did you have additional questions?
No, Alex got his hand up before me.
No, that guy.
Down. So, yep, that was it. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Alex. All right. That looks like we went through all the material for today. Want to make you aware that the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for November 7th, same time. And Mark and Kelly and Blake, you guys put a topic on here. It's called Call for Topics. That must mean you want input from the audience. I've heard that throughout this discussion today. So please, all of you that have interest in energy codes, make sure that you send them over our way and we'll put them on a list and we'll discuss them for the next meeting and ongoing. It's just a real good thing to have those topics to discuss and share the interest that you might have. So anything else from BCD or Blake from Odo or anyone else? All right. Well, everybody have a good warm afternoon and enjoyable rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Everyone, bye.